I'm working on a few videos about making a habit out of making and recording music and turning tracks and ideas into a live set you can actually perform. But it will take me some time to finish, so I thought I'd jump ahead a little bit to where you have a live set ready and share 10 tips on how you can prepare for it. Of course, everyone will have to find their own way, so I'm sure you'll customize this list. If you have more tips or experience you want to share, feel free to add your thoughts in the comment section. If you want to help me make more videos like this, have a look at my Patreon page, where you can read more about my plans and support me with a small donation on a monthly basis. There's quite a few things to cover, so let's get started. This tip actually starts before you're settling on what you will perform exactly, but it's something to consider. Very often the quality of the music people make is very related to how well they know and control their instruments. And this is even more so during a live set. You have to know how to use it when it's dark or when there is a crappy smoke machine clouding your vision. You should know how to avoid accidents or reset it when needed. In example, you better know the manual from your sequencer inside out so you won't be surprised with a locked shift function or invert mute mode you didn't know about. It's tempting to use your latest purchases or newest tricks, but using gear you know inside out will generally give you more confidence and lead to better performances. Unless your live shows are going to be crazy improvised madness, this should be obvious, but really feeling familiar with what you're about to show will help you feeling calm and takes away a lot of stress. At the same time, there's no need to overdo it. Find the right balance between knowing your show and allowing some space to listen to the music you're making in the moment and respond to it if necessary. Something that works well for me at the point where I think I know my live set well enough is to go for a long walk and literally imagine the whole performance. I perform the entire set in my head and picture myself going through all the major actions. If I don't get stuck or forget parts during this exercise, then I'm fine. There's not much worse than not being able to perform because you forgot that one piece of gear or essential cable. So make a list of what you need to bring along. A great way to do this is to install your entire live setup outside of your studio, maybe the living room or your neighbor's kitchen. This way you can test the setup you're about to pack and see if everything works exactly the way it should, all the way down to your audio cables and power strip. A second advantage of setting up outside of your usual place is you can go through your entire set in a different sounding environment, so use a different set of speakers or headphones. Because no matter where you're going to play, whether it's a small art gallery or a venue with a massive sound system, your music is going to sound different from how you hear it in your home studio. Being able to respond to this on the spot during a live set is a valuable skill, so train this at home with an unusual sound system. Tweak individual sounds in EQ and force yourself to use different settings than the ones you have been practicing with. If I bring my modular in example, I bring it patched as far as possible. If I do need to patch up a small extra case, I make bundles of cables and a list which says what I need to patch. Label your cables if you have a lot of them and make sure they're unclutched. And again, bring everything yourself, including all cables and power strips, so you don't have to ask or wait for things. You probably have some spare time before soundcheck begins. And especially if you're starting out and you're the first to perform, you will very likely be the last to soundcheck. That means you have time to set up your system while others soundcheck. And with headphones, you can at least make sure everything works the way it should. See if your patch still works, if your sequencer still remembers its sequences, and so on. This even works with simple earbuds. It's just to check everything's functionality, not the sound quality. Then, when it is actually your time to soundcheck, which may be just a short time if the other bands have been really nagging about everything, you can focus immediately on your sound and not worry about getting your setup to function first. So when it is your turn to soundcheck, what will you do? Think about what you want to check for. It's normal to start checking with the loudest, most intense moment in your live set, to set the overall levels and EQ. So you can prepare your setup for that with your headphones in advance. But there might be a lot more you want to do. If you mix a lot of things yourself, pick a few essential moments in your show, set it on a loop and walk over to where your audience will be to listen if you need to make changes to your sound. Similar to when you are practicing on your kitchen table, you might need different EQ settings depending on where you are performing. It might also be worth it to check essential sounds like drum loops or samples you're using. Listen if that one kick sample you plan to use for the entire show works well on the sound system of the venue you're playing. So prepare the things you want to check for and go through them one by one. There are a lot of things that can take away from your focus or the fun you're having on the evening of your performance. So make a list of things that you want to have around or can help you relax. Here are a few things that are on my list. Bags or covers to protect my gear from rain if needed. Simple ear protection because you're gonna be around loud sound checking and probably watch other performances as well. Always protect your ears. Check how you get home. Is the train still working or do you need an Uber? You don't want to stroll in gutters with a lot of gear on your back. I always bring an extra shirt because I like to hang around and talk to people after a concert, and stage lights are really warm. If you have promotion material, make sure to bring them along, maybe with some extra change if you expect to sell some. And always bring some extra cables, especially the ones that are not so common. Every time you think of something useful, add it to the list and you'll be a happier person in the future. Disaster might be a bit dramatic, but do think about some things that can go wrong with your specific setup and see if there are things you can do about that. Again, it really helps to use gear you are familiar with so you know how to reset it or maybe work around something if it fails. But there's no harm in wondering a bit about what you would do if your key sequencer would stop working, an example. If you have gear with batteries, maybe bring some extra and a tool you might need to open the device up, and so on. Maybe even have a little backup plan and prepare a part or track you can perform with just one piece of equipment. Also, exercise improvising with your live setup. It's also a skill that can really give you confidence and help to turn failing equipment around. And a more human tip, unless your first performance is a 4-hour techno set in a major club, chances are you will start out in a more personal environment, with other musicians and electronic music lovers. So just prepare for something to say in case anything goes wrong. Connect with the audience and tell something about your project while you change the empty batteries in your sequencer, an example. Yes, this last tip is a little bit cheesy, but it's still important. I'm not someone who likes to stand in the spotlight, but over the years I got pretty comfortable being on stage, to a point where I'm not really nervous about it anymore. All the things on this list really helped me, but also remembering why I was there in the first place, because I like making and sharing my music. So remember that when you're performing. That's it for now. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching and see you next time.